Good morning, Miss. I will wait just for 2 more minutes so that the others join and we'll start directly, okay? Okay, guys, let's start. I will allow you to unmute yourselves. Okay, so Miss, today we are going to start with a new lecture this week. This lecture is very important, very, very important. As you know, from the beginning of the year, we have been taking expository writing, informational essays. So now we are going to make a very big twist in which we are going to start with the narrative essay. Okay? Before we start with the narrative essay, let us just remember that our reading lesson and our comprehension lesson for the previous week was a narrative, a personal narrative text story in which we read about a person who had dyslexia. And we said that this is narrative because he is narrating his story. So the genre was personal narrative. And this is what we are going to learn about today, how to write a personal narrative or a narrative essay. I mean, a personal narrative, something that happened with us, a narrative, something that happened with somebody else. But first, let's remember together. Who can remind us? What do we mean by narrate? You are able to speak because you are allowed to unmute, so you can share us your answers. So what do we mean by narrate? Who knows? By raising your hands, please.
Writing an essay.
No. Yes, Jude?
Telling someone else's story. Or you think so?
Okay, Is it necessary only someone else's story, or we can say
No,
a story
narrating
also?
Tell a story.
Any story, very good, any story. So when I say I am narrating, it means I am telling a story. Keep this in mind, please. This is very important, and I will repeat it every time we talk about narrative essays. When I say narrate, it means telling a story. يعني بالعربي بنقول سرد. When I say narrate, it means I'm telling a story. Keep this in mind. This is important more than anything else, just to understand the meaning of the word narrate. So let's move to the definition of a narrative essay. When I say a narrative essay, what is a narrative essay? The first thing you have to think about, as I told you, is that a narrative essay is a story. I'm not going to just complicate things, so I will just tell you that a narrative essay is a story that happened with you or a story that happened with somebody else. يعني, for example, if I am narrating a story, I might narrate a story that happened with me and a story that happened with my friend. I might narrate a story that happened with me or a story that happened with my student, and so on. So this is what do we mean by a narrative essay in general. A narrative essay in general, يعني if someone asked you, what is a narrative essay? You would just say that a narrative essay is a story, okay? Now, let's move to the second part. What should be included in a narrative essay? First of all, the first thing you have to know about a narrative essay is that it can be written in the first point of view and in the third point of view. Let me explain the difference between them. When I say first point, it means I am the narrator. يعني I am telling my own story. So I use, for example, I, me, we, these pronouns because I am the one telling the story. And it can be told from the third point of view, like he, she, they. يعني when someone is telling somebody else's story. Okay? The second thing, which is very important in the narrative essay, is that you have to tell the events in order or in chronological order, يعني in the correct time order. So I have to start the story from the beginning to the middle to the end, because this is a story, right? And a story, of course, has a beginning, has a middle, and has an end. So you should develop your essay according to this order, beginning, middle, end. Okay? Something else which is very important. If I asked you now, tell me about a story that happened with you when you were on a school trip. It means this story happened in the past or in the present or will happen in the future. Who can tell me?
This happened in the past.
In the past, very good.
Yeah.
So since this story happened in the past, then you have to use the past tense when writing a narrative essay. And this is very important. And you have to concentrate on this. When you write a personal narrative essay, it means you have to use the past tense. no matter what, because of course, when you are narrating a story, you are narrating a story that happened with you in the past and not something that happened now, okay? Something which is taking place now or something which is going to happen in the future and so on. You are talking about something that happened in the past, okay? Clear till now?
Yes.
Okay, now let's now move to the elements of a narrative essay. First of all, let me tell you something. Since the narrative essay is a story, it means it needs story elements, right? Because every story needs elements. So we are going to talk now about the elements of a story. The first thing we are going to talk about is the plot, the characters, the conflict, the climax, and the lesson learned. Let's see. Let's look at this story map, miss. Remember in the expository writing, we used to write an outline? Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Great. In a narrative essay, we are no more going to write an outline. We are going to use this graphic organizer. We are going to use a story map. Okay?
Okay.
Let's see how. First of all, you start with the title. These are called story elements. This is a story map. And these, the ones written in black, are called story elements. Let's start. First of all, I start with the title. You all know that we have to write a suitable title for our essays, right? So sleeping today, right? You're sleeping. So we should all write a title for our essays. And this is very important. We should write a suitable title, a catchy title, a title that grabs the reader's attention, and so on. Then you start with the characters. What do we mean by characters? Who can tell me?
Characters are
Miss, the people who acted in the story.
Yes, the people who act in the story. يعني the members of the story. These are the characters. يعني مثلا me, my mom, my friend, my teacher, all of these are characters. Then we move to the setting. Who can tell us what is a setting? What do we mean by setting in the
place.
story? A place, and what else?
time.
Time, very good. So when I say setting, it means time and place because you are narrating a story. Then this story, of course, happened in a certain period of time and at a certain place, right? So we should state the time and the place. Okay? So till now, we have explained three elements of the story, which are the title, the characters, and the setting. Now we move to the thesis statement. Of course, you all know that the thesis statement is the last sentence in the introduction, and it tells what is the story about. So you write the thesis statement here in this box, in the story map. And I will remind you again and again that the thesis statement is the sentence that tells the whole idea of the essay. And it's written in the introduction. It's the last sentence in the introductory paragraph. So, till now we have the title, the characters, the people who are acting in the story, the setting, which includes the time and the place, and then the thesis statement, which is the most important sentence in an essay and tells the main idea of the essay, what is the essay about, and it's written in the introduction, in the last part, or it's the last sentence in the introductory paragraph. Introduction is same as introductory paragraph. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Now we move to the conflict. Of course, when I say I am narrating a story, a conflict is one element of a story. It's a very important part in a story because every one of us, when narrating a story, he is going to tell us about a problem or a conflict that he faced. Okay? So, the conflict is the problem. The word conflict means problem. But because you are now in grade 7, we are no more going to use the word problem. We are going to use the word conflict. So, the conflict is the problem. Okay? What happened with you? You faced a problem with your parents, you did a car accident, you fell off a tree and broke your leg, you lied to your parents and you were punished. Any conflict that you faced, of course, based on the prompt, and based on the topic that you have. Okay? Okay? So,
Yes.
again, in the story, I'm repeating this. You might feel bored, but this is the most important part of the lesson. So,
Yes.
we are talking about the story elements, and these story elements are being filled in something called a story map, used instead of an outline in an expository writing. And we are going to start with the title, the characters, the people who act in the story, the setting, which tells the time and the place, the thesis statement, which is the most important sentence in the whole essay and tells what is the story about. It's written in the introductory paragraph. It's the last sentence in the introductory paragraph. And then we move to the conflict, which is the problem that the narrator faces. Then we move to the events. The events are very, very, very important. Let me tell you why. When I say events, it means the biggest part of the essay. Okay, let me show you how. Events, what happened in the story? How did the story develop? How did you face your conflict? How did you find a solution? What happened? هن the biggest part. The events هن the events are what took place in the story. What happened with you in the story? Usually you do these when narrating a story orally, not only written. Like sometimes you might tell your friends that yesterday I, for example, stole my father's car and I did an accident. This is the conflict. What happened? What are the events? I felt very afraid when I did the accident. Then I decided to call my father. My father came to the to the location where I was when I was with my friends, for example. They took us to the hospital to make a general checkup, and then he took the car to the to fix it. My dad was very upset, and then I apologized, and so on. So these are events. What happened with you? These are the events. How was the problem solved? Then the last part of the story is the lesson learned. Let me tell you, what do we mean by lesson learned? Whenever, guys, you face a certain problem in life, there is a lesson that you learn from the story. Sometimes you learn that you should work hard. Sometimes you learn that you should not lie. Sometimes you learn that you should help others. Sometimes you learn that you should stop bullying your friends at school. Sometimes you learn that you should ask your parents for help. Sometimes you learn that you have to be a strong person and face your challenges. Every time you face any problem in your life, every time any story, even if it was very silly story, it learns you something. And I'm sure every one of you have learned many lessons from many stories that happened with him, even if these stories were very silly. And even if these stories were silly stories that happen on daily basis, but these stories have learned you a lot. And I'm sure about that. Okay? So the last thing you write in the story map is the lesson learned. And of course, guys, whenever you are going to write a narrative essay, I will already add this story map for you to fill it. You are not going to draw it. Okay, you will find it ready. So you write the lesson learned. What did you learn? Well, I learned that I should not lie. I have to say the truth. I learned that I have to help my dad. I learned that I have to study hard in order to reach my goals. I learned that I have to stop bullying my friends because this is a bad habit, and so on. Okay? Is everything clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So this is what do we mean by lesson learned. And I just need to get the attendance sheet in order just to take attendance. So I'll be back in 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Okay, miss. I'm sorry for being late. Let's just take the attendance. Please unmute yourselves, all of you. Okay. Hamad Bawab. Hamad Bawab. Reem. Reem. Maya. 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 Selena Bawab. Nora. 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 Guys, please, if you have to unmute. If you are here, you have to unmute in order to tell me that you are present, okay? So I will ask
Yes,
again.
I can't
Maya?
hear you very much.
Maya is here, but she's not answering. طيب. Noura?
Here.
Okay. Lamar?
Here.
Adam Hajaji?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
Dalal? Hassan Sroor?
Here.
Ali Nasir Eddin?
Present.
Hassan Watfa? Not here.
Miss Mia's internet is so bad she can't hear you.
Karam?
Here.
Adam Araoune?
Yes, here.
Adam Hayek?
Present.
Jude?
Yes, miss. Here.
Leia Dayer?
Yes, miss.
Adnan?
Yes, miss.
Carlo? Hala? Sari?
Miss, did you take my name?
Who's this?
Karam.
Yes, Karam, I did.
Oh,
Zainab Bastane? Zainab Aasi is not here either. Zahra Jaber? Not here. Ayash Haime?
Present.
Okay, good. So I took the attendance for this week. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I will explain just one more slide because the others would be about how to write the thesis and so on. So I just don't want to. Okay, so if anyone asks you what is a narrative writing, as we said, you just say that this is a narrative story in which you narrate a story. I'm not going to, I will skip some slides, guys, because this week we are just going to cover two sessions, not 3. So I'm going to skip some slides. I'm going to start with this, in which it explains what each part of the story includes. And I will start with the conflict. As we said, the conflict is the problem you faced throughout the story. The climax is the part where the tension or the actions reaches the highest point. The events, as I told you, are the stages of the story. Yani what happened? You should write them as phrases, not complete sentences. When yani as phrases? You should write them as phrases in the story map, not in the essay. In the essay, you will write them as complete sentences, but in the story map, you write them as phrases. Yes, Maya?
Miss, I'm with you, but the internet connection is
Yeah.
bad and I was on my laptop, so I couldn't hear you.
Yeah,
I got in
know
from my phone.
that you are getting out and in more than one time. Yeah, don't worry, it's okay. So the ending, in which it's the solution or what happens at the end of the story. It's not necessary that every time you write an ending, you are going to find a solution for the story. Sometimes the story ends and it doesn't have a happy ending, and it doesn't have a solution. So you're not obliged every time to write a solution. So that's why I write the ending, not the solution. And of course, the lesson learned is the recommendation or result learned from the experience you passed through. شو يعني recommendation and result? It means that you learn the readers a story, you learn them, a lesson based on the story that happened with you, from the experience that you have passed through. يعني I have passed through this experience, I learn you this. I passed through this, I learn you that, and so on. So every time you narrate a story, you are learning someone a lesson. Okay? Now we move to the transitional words. Of course, in the transitional words, لأنه it's a story, you are going to use first, second, after that, since, suddenly, now, as soon as, before, before long, after 1 minute, after 2 minutes, the second day, and so on. And you are narrating a story. So you have to use transitions related to time. لأنه your story is based on a certain period of time. It has a certain setting. It has a certain time and place. And of course, also in the conclusion, there are some transitions that you can use in order to end your story, and you can use them in the concluding paragraph. Like you can start your concluding paragraph with all in all. You can start with at last, at the end, finally, in conclusion, on the whole, thinking back, ultimately, in conclusion, in summary. All of these are transitional words that might be used in order to end your paragraph. Okay? Hello. I skipped these slides, planning the narrative essay. I'm not going to explain it. I will tomorrow, and we still have only 2 minutes, I will tomorrow start with the thesis. What would you expect from the thesis? Additional ideas for a thesis, لأنه this is very important. Then we will move to this, which is what does the introduction include, what does the body include, and what does the conclusion include. Then we will move to the model, because the model is very important. Okay, guys, thank you all for attending, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye, miss.
Bye bye.